I don't think it's a substitute for therapy, but I do think we're ticking a few of those boxes musically and with the meditation.
I like that you're talking a lot about men going to therapy, by the way. That's
Yeah, the world would be a much better place if all men went to therapy. Boom. If I had a mic, I'd drop it.
Why don't we start by getting to know you personally, Frank? Can you introduce yourself to the Tarantula Tapes family?
Sure, yes. My name's Frank Bach. I am the vocalist in Monk. I live in Los Angeles. I've been here for about 10 years. Spent most of my life in Canada, in Sudbury, Ontario. Kind of wanted to get back to the things that, that just bring me to life, like music and skateboarding. And I'm a dad of a 4-year-old. That's what my regular days look like. And in the evenings, we go play dive bars and festivals and things. Yeah.
Are you teaching your 4-year-old to rock out and skateboard as well?
Yeah, she likes it. She thinks it's cool. She likes the yelling music, so she calls it, and she thinks it's fun to jump around. She's got a little skateboard here that we'll have a little session once in a while, but she's still a little small to really get into it. But it's very rewarding to see kids like get interested in stuff, and you just never know what they're gonna like.
Are there any personal experiences that influenced any of the writing of this EP?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even just the core theme of the band. I worked for a meditation studio and company for about 7 years, and I was exposed to tons of teachers and Tibetan monks, and we would meditate every day, twice a day. All of that stuff was like a huge part of my life for that time. And so when it came to writing music, just sort of like, what am I going to write about? I'm 37 years old. I'm not an angry teenager. I'm quite pleased with the way things have gone in life. So it would feel a little disingenuous to write stuff like that. So overall, yeah, I guess the meditation practice is working. It's doing its thing. It has helped.
Talk about how those songs like come together as a collection. What's the overarching feeling or theme of this recording?
The EP is titled Dark Side of the Mind, and if I could explain it in just a few words, I guess it would be like sort of dealing with intrusive thoughts. You've kind of always got the angel on one shoulder and the demon on the other, and it is sort of like grappling with that, sometimes letting it guide and influence you, but not too much, kind of keeping it at bay. That's kind of where things begin, is like conceptually kind of mood boarding and getting some keywords of the topics we want to cover.
What kind of words did you put up for this record?
Intrusive thoughts for sure, mental chains, shadow self was a big one, reflection, themes around like mirrors and facing fears. There's one song called Your Rules, and maybe that one sticks out a little bit compared to the others, but it's mostly about like charting your own path, deciding what is true to you and your goals and aspirations in life. There's the other song called Chains that I mentioned. That one's just about like the sort of limiting beliefs that we can put on ourselves, where you kind of worry, why would I take this risk or try this certain thing, or try to write music in the first place. A lot of times you can really have that fear of failure, or like feel like what you're doing is going to be cringy, or like what if everybody hates it. And it's like, that's what that song's really about, is wrapping your mind around that and just focusing on like pure output and creativity and just making things for the sake of making things and not thinking about them too much, and having a little bit of self-awareness but not overthinking it. I think is a very much part of the punk ethos. And the realization I'm having is there's like mindfulness or Zen and hardcore have a lot more in common than people maybe think.
What do they have in common? Go on.
Well, you got like this aspect of self-awareness, this aspect of asking questions. On the punk side, it's maybe usually has a bit more of a sort of authority asking questions type of thing, but on the mindfulness side is like constantly asking why, or maybe a little bit deeper questioning around like the meaning of things or the purpose of things. And sometimes you get to the point where you realize maybe the questions don't even have answers. That's probably okay. And then there's kind of get back to the acceptance.
How do you make sure these kind of quite thoughtful messages come through in music that is like so kind of aggressive?
One way that I think of it is the A side of the record is okay to be aggressive and sort of ask the questions and be frustrated and deal with kind of the angry side of things. And that the B side is kind of an answer to the questions. Again, it's maybe not mapped one to one, like a perfect answer, but I try to sort of get to the core of it through the meditation bit. We've had people come up to us at some shows while we're out on the road who share this experience that, maybe they put the record on while they were driving or getting ready in the morning or whatever they were doing, just regular everyday activity. Then when the meditation part hits them, it just sort of like catches them by super surprise and almost thinking that maybe their Spotify has glitched on them or the playlist did something wrong. And I think that's fun. I'm a Gemini and I love opposites. We're known for kind of having the two sides, and I think that just comes through really well with Monk.
Do you see this record as any kind of reflection of what's going on in the world right now?
I think the audience could receive it that way. I think I'm usually trying to go for something that's a little bit more kind of evergreen and timeless. I don't really love the idea of capturing a certain climate or moment. Some people might have a problem with that and might think that's kind of a cop-out answer, and that like hardcore and punk exists to confront what's happening every day. But I think there's more than enough music out there that captures the happenings of the world, and there will be no shortage of it. So we're trying to do something a little bit different. I think sometimes our music can be a little bit more of an answer to your problem rather than just like meeting the problem with fire.
Yeah, so if I understand correctly, you're trying to address something a little bit more timeless about the human experience.
Yeah. Human experience is. Sure.
I know that you're releasing on Dine Alone as a vinyl,
Yeah.
and that Tarantula Tapes will be releasing as a tape. What do you think about the resurgence of physical media?
I think it's great. I mean, I've also been out of music for a good decade until this project started again. So it feels like that there was kind of a gap where physical media wasn't so big. But, I came from the MySpace days and Spotify didn't even exist. And we were still making tons of records, and we were also pressing CDs. I'm kind of glad we're not making CDs anymore, and that there's a bit more of a throwback to things like cassettes, because I think that's super, super fun. Most cassettes are probably not getting played. And they're more just like a nice artifact of the art, and they're also like they're not super expensive to produce. I think there's an awesome like DIY aspect to this, whereas like vinyl is a like true large thousands of dollars investment. Tapes are small. They're a neat format, like visually.
If you had to pitch Monk to the Tarantula Tape family,
Yeah.
who do you think would be your ideal person who would be most excited by getting their hands on Monk's Tarantula Tape?
I'd say somebody who has a strong history in punk and hardcore. Maybe you grew up with it. Maybe you've been getting into it, and you are looking for something that's maybe a little bit deeper, a little bit more concrete, less sort of lighthearted, dealing with factors that are more around like how you feel inside and the human condition.
So somebody who's looking for something with a little bit more substance to it.
I think so. Yeah. Sounds right.
Nice.